PHNX Sun Devils show. I am not Anthony Totri or Shane Diefenbach. I am, in fact, Erik Ruby, but tapping in with me today, it's the beautiful, amazing, well-spoken Ralph Amsden. Ralph, my man, it's good to have you back on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing good after that intro. My goodness.
I mean, listen, I got to tell the people the truth. I've been labeled a truth teller, and I have to do it when I intro you.
I'm about to send this to my dad. Be like, hey, somebody likes me.
Listen, you would send this to your dad, and your dad would say, "Who the hell is that? And why do I care?" But I care, Ralph. I'm glad that you could join us.
Looks like you need to shave.
Yeah, I do. But, it's okay. We're here. We're having a good time. We're going to talk a lot about funding and resources for ASU. John Wilner, who reports for the Mercury News, he has put out a fantastic article and continued to cover the Pac-12 or the former remnants of the Pac-12. We're going to dive into that. We're going to get Ralph's take on spring football as well. Plus, there's some new NIL stuff going on. While you're here, though, guys, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to PHNX. We got all sorts of great stuff coming out for you, not just on the ASU side of things, but Suns playoffs. We have some fantastic Coyotes coverage and everything happening over there. And of course, the draft is coming up in just about a week for the Cardinals. So make sure you hit that like button, become a diehard today. Join our diehard Discord. But Ralph, I'm going to play a soundbite from Dan Hurley. When Dan Hurley and UConn were here in his time in the Final Four answering questions, he was asked about Bobby Hurley, and he was asked kind of about the state of ASU basketball. Now, I'm just going to play this, and we'll take it from there.
You could see why he loves it here. You could see why he values his job here, and I think when he's in a position, to have all the resources that a lot of us at this Final Four have, when he has that at his full disposal, he'll be up on this dais, and someday I'll be supporting him.
Now, the key word in that, Ralph, is resources. Before we dive into the article written by Wilner, I just want to get your take on what you thought when you initially heard that soundbite from Bobby's brother.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Dan Hurley thing is that he speaks his mind, right?
Correct.
I think we've seen snippets of what Bobby would sound like if he felt the support in order to speak his mind as well in some leaked emails directed to to Ray Anderson
right
back when they had a little tiff and had to get lawyers involved. So I mean I'm sure that Bobby Hurley is very passionate about this program, and I'm sure that he is well aware of what everyone else has and what he has to compete against. And I'm sure he's had to hold that up against maybe some promises that were made to him when he was first brought on, I think in 2015. And I'm sure that that this is a man that, in order to get through the day without his neck vein escaping, that he has to do a little gratitude journaling and list some of the things that he does have, because I mean, Dan Hurley was able to do it right there. Like, oh yeah, this area is beautiful. I can see why he likes it here. And if he had what I had, he'd be on this stage too. I just think that the freedom that Dan Hurley has to be himself is probably not a freedom afforded to Bobby Hurley, or at least he doesn't believe that that's a freedom afforded to him here.
Yeah, and you can see it not just with Dan Hurley in Connecticut, but in this new era of college athletics, the pure dollar amounts that some of these big-time schools get to play with. Most notably, I believe Arkansas gave Calipari like $5 million in NIL. I believe Mark Pope has somewhere similar to that as well. But with ASU, you don't expect them to be up there with those blue bloods, right? Or the teams like Arkansas who are going and getting a Calipari because of some NIL sponsors that are Tyson chicken nugget related. So with ASU though, it seems like they're way behind. So let's peel back the curtain a little bit. Let's unpack this wonderful article by John Wilner of the Mercury News. You should go check him out. At Wilner Hotline, I believe, is his at. So he said, evidence uncovered by the hotline seems to favor the take that the Hurleys have, which is that they, as in Bobby, does not have enough funding from ASU in order to build a fully successful program. So the first thing up on the list is Desert Financial Arena. Now, it is a 50-year-old untouched arena, and what he compares it to is not any other arenas on any other campuses across the country, but an actual stadium that was on ASU's own campus, and that would be Packard Stadium, a facility that opened the same year, 1974, and that is the Sun Devils baseball venue. Now, while DFCU is untouched and the arena is not really any updates or anything like that, that baseball arena, Packard Stadium, has been permanently closed for a decade now. Now, these were built at the same time, same type of construction. And mind you, the ASU basketball arena also houses many other sports like gymnastics, volleyball, wrestling. So the first order of business is, why are we still operating as a basketball program now going into the Big 12 with an arena that is so far behind not only what its fellow counterparts in the Big 12 have, but really other ASU infrastructure that has been invested in on campus? It seems like the only thing that hasn't been touched in the last couple of decades is that arena.
I mean, I agree with you. I'm a class of 2009 language and lit major.
Shout out.
Was a liberal arts major from Arizona State University. Started out in Cronkite. Wanted to be the next Al McCoy, and then I heard my own recorded voice, and I was like,
look at you now. Look at you
yeah,
now. Look at you
yeah.
now.
Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? But I was like, I guess I got to write things down so people can hear it in their own voice. But I was in the language and lit building, and for the longest time, taking classes in the language and lit building was like going to the set of Saw 1. Right?
Okay.
It was like being in class in the language and lit building was like being in a 1970s like Serpico style interrogation room with the like swinging fluorescent lights and asbestos in the walls. And I remember seeing every building on campus get updated, and the language and lit building was really the last one to get overhauled. And I'd have a couple of classes in Laddie Coor Hall, which is like a giant glass building.
Yeah.
I saw them rebuilding the business school, and it's an architectural wonder. You see Gamage on campus and Palm Walk and the Virginia Piper Writers House. You see all these fantastic places, and I'm stuck taking classes in the language and lit, and it's not like my degree was discounted, right? They finally overhaul. I'm still sending checks every month. They finally overhauled this entire building, and I was back on campus a couple of weeks ago, and it is gorgeous now. And it's hard to believe that all of my classes were in what was essentially a dump. Right. And I look at Desert Financial Arena and I realize that so basically what I'm saying is I'm practically a college basketball player, because they have these.
I can see it.
Yeah, thanks. They have these facilities and they have to compare it to the $400 million update of Sun Devil Stadium, Mountain America Stadium, 20 feet away, which it's already incredible enough that you're like, all right, here's where our basketball team plays, and here's the credit union that sponsors it. We're going to go and put $400 million worth of updates into our football stadium. Then we're going to get a different financial institution to sponsor it. So we're going to rub DFA's noses in it and our basketball players' noses in it. And it's tough because, like you brought up, Packard has been closed for 10 years. Everybody that plays basketball sees all the different facilities.
Right.
Bobby Hurley is not giving kids, if they don't ask explicitly, if their kids and parents don't ask explicitly, he's not giving them tours of DFA when they're here on visits. How wild is that?
Well, it's not even that surprising to me, because to be honest with you, the arena itself, it is not something that you walk into and you are immediately like impressed. And yes, it's old, but it doesn't exactly have that old like charm to it. You know what I mean? Where it's like Allen Fieldhouse, right? Like that was one of the least updated arenas until the last couple of years in all of college basketball. But there was so much history tied to it, and there was so much like just I'm about to say flavor. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but I'm just going to say that anyway because I'm riffing and I'm holding this mic like I'm doing stand-up comedy. There was a lot of flavor in Allen Fieldhouse, right? But there's not really any of that in DFA. And plus, if you're going to tour ASU's campus, I mean, you talk about renovating the buildings you took classes in. Like, you walk into the SDFC. I mean, the SDFC is incredible. It's light years ahead as far as aesthetic and looks and being updated than their actual basketball arena. And like you also said, like the football stadium as well, literally a walking distance away, is not only getting updates and continually poured into, but it was already before the recent amount of updates more up to date than DFA. And so besides the amount of money, which we're going to get into the actual numbers here, that the program has to play with when it comes to NIL, when it comes to anything like that, when you are taking recruits and you are taking these young kids now in college athletics who are getting wooed by countless amounts of money and sponsorships and now also facilities and what you're investing in your program, it becomes a lot harder to sell your own program when you're like, well, we don't really even invest in ourselves. So should you invest in yourself to come here? And I think it is a testament to Bobby and to the city and to the fan base and to everything else that ASU brings that they can still get, like, it's maybe not perfect and a lot of people are leaving, but they can still get talent in the door with the resources that they're being able to play with. And so I'm wondering, like, from your perspective, if you, let me put this scenario out there for you. You're 18, 19 years old. You're touring. You are a prospective college basketball player. How important is facilities to Ralph?
It's important when I know that there's a difference. That is the only time that it becomes important. Chris Rock used to say a man is only as faithful as his options. Once you know your options, it becomes something that you actually have the ability to compare. Right? So I'm not going to know that it's important until I go somewhere that blows me away.
Right.
So what Arizona State has ultimately become, and I always think back to what Charlie Turner Thorne said about how she likes the transfer portal because she's getting girls on her team that know what they want. They've had an experience in one place. They went in with no experience. They've gotten to remeasure what they want out of their collegiate experience. And if their goals align with Charlie Turner Thorne's goals, then Lady Sun Devil you are, right?
Right, yeah.
And so that Arizona State has to essentially become like not last chance you, but it's had to become a place where you go and you get people out of the portal who say like, look, I don't care what this place looks like. I just want a ball. Right. But if you want to have a shot at the best available players right out of the gate, you're at least going to have to show them that, you know, and it'd be one thing if it was full. Right. And it does get good crowds. I feel like it gets relatively good crowds for Pac-12 play. But if that place was a dump and it was full, like, I don't care. Think about being 18, 19. You go to a kickback anywhere. You go to a kickback with roaches if the ratio's right. Right? Like, if there's, like, am I lying? And so
Dude,
you got to bring one or the other. It's got to be like the best time imaginable in a dump, right? It's got to be like the van from that 70s show. Like, a lot of good times happen here. It's not the best vehicle in the world, but a lot of good times happen here. Or you have to have the best, flashiest thing. And I think Arizona State football understands that. I think the campus in general, as they reform all the buildings, the idea that Michael Crow doesn't get this is insane when you look at the fact that this guy is a revamper, a real estate developer, reimaginer. Like, it's very, very strange. It's like going to somebody's house who is they own like a house cleaning business and they're incredible at it and they have all the best Yelp reviews, and you walk through the front door and there's just like baby diapers laying everywhere. It just doesn't make sense.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Like, I know the word beautiful after hearing baby diapers maybe is a little bit of a shocker, but like, you're right. Or like, if somebody is like this master, like, remodeler, right, of their home, and you walk in and their home is gorgeous, the beautiful foyer, you go into the dining room, it's awesome. And then it's like, oh, and by the way, here's our kitchen. and it hasn't been touched since 1982, and it's still using all the old appliances. The microwave has a broken door hanging off of it, and you can say, well, you know what? We've made a lot of meals in here. We've had some good times, and we've had some good crowds and some good dinner parties, and it served us fine for then. But when you look around at everything else and it's shiny and it's new, and you're like, well, why would you just completely ignore an area that can also bring you a lot of value? And that's the thing with this basketball program, is that we've seen, I did an audio only episode, quick plug, of just like an oral history of Bobby Hurley's time at ASU, just going through the season, some of the significant wins and losses, patterns, players, everything like that. And there have been so many incredibly high moments in Bobby Hurley's era here. And during that time, that arena was bumping. Like it is not like it is absolutely impossible to have success there. But I think when you sit here now in the state of this program, in the state of college basketball, and you see basically Bobby having to return a new roster for a couple years in a row, and to sell guys on a place that, like you said, when you know what's out there, and a majority of places out there have at least a somewhat new or newer option than what you're presenting over here, well, then you just think, well, if you have enough money to offer them, maybe you can compensate for that. But as this article continues, ASU also struggles, surprise, surprise, in that end as well. But before I get into that, I do want to talk about BetMGM. Now listen, BetMGM is our sportsbook partner here, and they have been fantastic for us. And right now, you can do the MLB Grand Slam Jackpot. It's a weekly bet and get promotion. You place $10 or more on any player to hit a home run every weekend. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, your 3 weekend days. If that player hits a grand slam on those days, you can win up to $50,000 of a daily prize or a share of the prize with every other winning better. For example, a customer bets on Aaron Judge to hit a home run on the 31st of July against Houston. If Judge hits a grand slam, along with 9 other customers, each of you will take home $5,000 cash in addition to your bet winning. So there's a little bit of skill in there as well if you want to pick somebody that you think can mash, but not as many other players would pick. Now, how do you get this offer? You're screaming, you're begging, Eric, how do I get this? Right now, you download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com, sign up, deposit at least $10 into that BetMGM Sportsbook account, place your first wager, and you can do that every single weekend. Or you could just place your first wager and receive up to $15,000 back in bonus bets if that bet loses. And if that bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. It's a great time to sign up for BetMGM, and make sure you use promo code PHNX, best 4 letters in the alphabet, baby. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app of at least $10. You'll get $1,500 in bonus bets back if you lose. Check out the show notes for full details, and now you can listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
7369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
And not to mention our wonderful friends over at Arizona Lottery. Now, Ralph, I know you're not in State 48 right now, but it's starting to get a little bit toasty. It's going to be 90s straight for the next week and a half before it dips slightly below. And that means that right now it's time to check out Arizona Lottery and the Arizona Adventure, where you can go around to geolocated adventures at 10 destinations across the state from Flagstaff to Yuma before it gets a little bit too hot. Now, not only can you just buy scratchers featuring some iconic landscapes, you can also check in at geolocated adventures and enter for a chance to win up to $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes. And it's important to remember that not only is this about having some fun, not only is this about, playing some games, having some scratchers, all of that fun, but some of the proceeds also from the ticket sales support environmental conservation, among other important initiatives across our great and beautiful state. You can visit azadventure.com for more information on how you can take an adventure for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes. But speaking of cash, it seems like
did you say you could win up to $1 million?
Yeah, you can win up to $1 million cash, baby. Now, Ralph, I lost you. I don't know what happened, but your audio is no longer coming through. I guess the deal was just that good. Can I hear you now? Can you say something? Oh man, that is That is unfortunate news. Okay. Ralph, it might be on your end, brother. I don't know if something got unplugged.
It says I'm back. It says
there
I'm
we
back.
go.
Am I back?
There we go.
All right.
You know,
it didn't want me to thrive. It didn't want me to live. It didn't want me to get my joke off. But I said,
let's
rewind
it.
Yeah,
rewind it.
Did you say up to $1 million, Eric?
I did.
Wow, that's like 9 recruiting budgets.
Oh man. You aren't wrong. Let's get into it, the nitty gritty. So if you missed it, we're diving into this article by John Wilner at Wilner Hotline for the Mercury News. Thank God that Ralph's mic unmuted, because Tyler in the chat says Ralph rules. And I agree with that. And we don't want you muted. We don't want you stepped on, brother. So not only did he use the arena as an example for things, but using revenue and expense reports submitted to the NCAA, the hotline examined athletic department budgets for every public school in the Pac-12 for the 2023 fiscal year and found the following. I'm just going to rattle these off and then we're going to dive into it, okay? Number one, ASU's budget for men's basketball was $9.1 million, or 13% below the conference average, which was $10.5 million. Only 3 schools spent less on their programs: Colorado, Oregon State, and Washington State. Meanwhile, Arizona, U of A, poured in $15.9 million into its basketball program. Bullet point number 2. Situation is even worse when the full scope of each school's athletic department is taken into account. Hurley's budget accounted for just 6.4% of the Sun Devils' total operating expenses of $141.7 million. Now, that allocation of dollars was the second lowest in the conference to Colorado, who was at 6%. Both Washington State and Oregon State devoted larger shares of their budgets to men's basketball, but he saved the worst for last. Hurley's recruiting budget for the 2022-23 academic year was $118,000. A little 900 on the end there, according to that expense report filed to the NCAA. So $118,900, and that's not just last in the Pac-12, it's last by a lot. Ralph, I saw you tweet about it. I know you made a joke about it, but how is somebody supposed to build a program if they're not given any resources to build it? Oh, we lost him again. Ralph, no, Ralph.
I'm back.
And we're back. Oh my goodness, we're back. Hi, Ralph. And we're unback. Something's happening, man. Ralph, it says you're muting yourself. All right. Well, I'm going to answer that question while we try to get Ralph back in here. He's going to leave and he's going to try to rejoin. So listen, second to last in the Pac-12, guys, for a lot of things, but dead last into recruiting. And if you are new to college athletics, recruiting is quite a big deal and basically the only way that you can survive as a program right now. We're going to try this again. Ralph, your thoughts on 11800? Oh, no, you're muted again. I'm sorry, Tyler in the chat. Ralph rules, I know, but I don't know if we're going to be able to figure this out. So I'm just going to keep riffing here. Guys, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe as we continue to try to get Ralph back in here. Oh, I hear Mike. I hear Mike. Ralph, are you there? I hear you. Can you hear me? Now he can't hear me. Man, this is just going really swimmingly here, guys. I'm going to go over just the numbers one more time and we're going to get into it while we try to figure this out. So $118,900 for recruiting, $101.7 million, which is their entire operating budget for Sun Devil athletics. 6.4% of that goes to men's basketball, and only $9.1 million, which is 13% below the conference average, goes into ASU's men's basketball program. Now, I know that we've had a lot to say on this program about Bobby Hurley and about if he is the best coach to lead this program to success. And I'm going to kick it over to Ralph right now again. And if this doesn't work, I hear you laugh. Ralph.
Yeah, I need to up my audio budget, apparently. I keep getting a message on my end that says that I'm being muted.
Well, we are not muting you over here.
Is Michael Crow in the machine right now?
Michael Crow shutting you down, man.
I did run into him. I visited Arizona a couple of weeks ago, and I literally ran into the guy outside the swimming facility. I almost got hit by a Waymo. I mean, I'm exaggerating. It was probably like 10, 20 feet away coming around a corner. It saw me and stopped. And I looked back at my kids and I was like, whoa, there's no driver. And a guy goes, did you see that there's no driver? And I look at him and I was like, yeah, pretty cool, huh? And I'm 10 feet away from Michael Crow and we're just looking each other in the face. And I said, oh, hey, Mike. And I'm not sure anybody has called this man Mike in like how long do you think? It's Dr. Crow or like Dr.
Yeah. Dr. Mike. Man, he cut out again. I don't know what's going on, Ralph. I'm so sorry. Ralph, brother, I think we might have to call it. I'm sorry. We're going to salute you there. We appreciate you joining, man. I don't know what's going on. We're going to have to get this back again. I guess Mike was in there cutting off Ralph's mic. So thank you, Ralph. We appreciate you, man. I'm going to be rocking solo for the rest of this show now. So we're going to figure it out, okay? We're going to just go here and we're going to riff. And Ralph is still going to be on the screen for a little bit because he likes to hang out with us until we figure things out. But this budget and everything given to Bobby Hurley, it's just impossible for somebody to build a program. And I think that I still stand by what I said to where I do not believe that he can be the best person to lead this new era of Sun Devils basketball, because a lot of what I have beef with doesn't necessarily come down to what's going on off the court, but more about what's going on the court and the different type of designs and schemes and getting the most out of players that I just haven't seen over his 9 years here. But there's absolutely no denying that he would be in a lot better of a place if he had some money to work with, if he had an ability to get players to work with that fit Bobby Hurley's system, that fit Bobby Hurley's style. And I do think that when he's gotten players, his biggest fault as a coach is that he doesn't adjust to who he has. And now maybe if he was able to get who he has and not try to get them to play in a certain style that doesn't fit them, it would end up with a better result. But it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? It's like, what do you want? Do you want the money to get the players, or do you want the coach who adjusts to the players? And I think both can be true. Bobby Hurley can have a way better chance of succeeding if he was actually given a semblance of a budget to work with. But he could also be a lot better if he was able to adjust and change and move around depending on his situation. And I think a lot of people can agree that the offense has been an extremely frustrating part of this ASU basketball team. And because of that, he hasn't been able to fully adjust to say, how can I get the most out of every single player? But at the end of the day, if he doesn't have the players that can compete, the players that you can give money to, you're not going to have a successful program. And that's why it's kind of a war on two fronts here for ASU basketball. Two things are true at once. It's not one or the other. It's not Bobby Hurley can't succeed because there's no money, and it's not there's no money because Bobby Hurley's not succeeding. There's a little bit of truth to both of it. It's Bobby Hurley is not succeeding because of, in part, what he is doing and coaching on the court, the way that he utilizes the players that he currently has. And he's also losing because he has not given the budget, the resources, the arena, anything to help build a long-lasting, long-sustaining program. Now, I don't say that to say that Bobby Hurley can't be a good coach. Bobby Hurley can't be the leader of a very good basketball team, because that would frankly just not be true. I'd be lying to you. We've seen that. We have seen that multiple times over his tenure, but it's the inconsistency. It's the up and downs, even within those years that they've hit massive heights. And you just think if they could get a little bit more buy-in from the university, if they could have a bigger pool to pull from, it's an unfortunate situation for a lot of things, because I don't think it fully represents Bobby Hurley. I don't think where this ASU program stands fully represents Bobby Hurley's maximum capacity and ability as a head coach. But I also believe that we have seen enough from Bobby to maybe say, hey, we need somebody who can navigate this a little bit better. Now, when you are at a money deficit, when you're at a recruiting deficit, like, you need somebody who's going to go out there and who's going to campaign for your program, campaign to get money. And Ralph is going to drop some questions in the chat, and I will get to those as well. It's a really unfortunate situation, because I've seen fans show up. I've seen Bobby Hurley have success. I've seen Bobby Hurley get good players. I've seen Bobby Hurley recruit, but I've also seen fans not show up. I've also seen Bobby Hurley get players that just don't pan out. I've also seen teams that have completely crapped the bed, not just at the end of a season, but at the end of a game, right? Like, they play so well, and then all of a sudden everything gets stale and there's no adjustments. And so you just sit back and you think to yourself, what is the solution? And the answer is everything. The answer is investment in the program. The answer is putting money into an arena that people want to come to. Like, it's not that hard of an answer, but it is still one. It's if you're going to keep Bobby Hurley, which you can argue and you can debate to yourself, and everybody here I'm sure has a very strong opinion. Do I want Bobby to stay or do I not want Bobby to stay? The reality is, no matter who walks in that door, they're going to be handicapped unless ASU ponies up and invests. So let's get to some of these Ralph questions here. Number one, is this an expense report or Hurley's actual budget? That's the thing. I'm not 100% sure because it said, Wilner said he examined the athletic department's budget. It doesn't say expense report here. And I usually trust Wilner overall, like very heavily. I think he's very tapped in and he knows what he's doing. He does very solid, well thought out work. And from everything that it appears to be put down here, it does look like that is his budget, not just his expenses. Because if he had a bigger budget and he didn't use it, that is a totally different conversation, to which Ralph says, number two, if it's an expense report and he had more financial leeway, is Bobby just being frugal? Now, that opens up a massively different conversation here. If Bobby Hurley actually does have more resources. Now, listen, if he had a couple thousand more and he didn't use it, maybe that doesn't make that much of a difference. But if we're talking like significant amounts of money that have not been used and into recruiting properly, then it needs to be time to move on to a new head coach. And I'm not saying that lightly. I like Bobby as a person. I like Bobby and what he brings in certain elements as a coach. But in today's modern college athletics, if you do not absolutely maximize your resources, you are done. You're done. And I know I always preface saying this by going, I don't like the cross-sport comparisons all the time, but you can see with ASU football by far has more buy-in by ASU, by boosters, by everything like that when it comes to NIL, when it comes to investment. But they are not anywhere near some of these schools that they're competing with. However, you do see them work with what they have and absolutely maximize it. And I guarantee you every last penny that can be spent at ASU football is being spent. And if that's not the case with ASU basketball, well, then that's a problem. And then Ralph, number three, if Bobby's not allowed to spend how much other teams are spending, does making it public pressure Crow to change? You'd like to think so, but the reality is the public has been scrutinizing and aiming in on ASU's athletic department spending and the way that it's operated for years. And nothing has changed. If anything, it's gotten worse. I won't put any faith in this being changed by Michael Crow because the reality is for where he sits in his job right now, he's doing great. I'm like selfishly, for all of us here, for the collective that root for Sun Devil athletics and that understand the importance that athletics bring to not only a college, but to the world, you get upset by thinking about it this way. But on a broad scale ASU perspective, Michael Crow has done absolute wonders for the school. He has taken their image and he's completely turned it around from a party school. I know we laugh at number one in innovation, but that's still something. And the people who invest in ASU on a broader scale, the people that, for lack of a better word, Michael Crow reports to, are not dissatisfied with his work. So I don't know if putting this out there is going to be the pressure that Michael Crow needs. I think at the end of the day, he will pony up more, but I don't ever think he's going to be at the level of some of these other schools. And at that point, you just need to get better. Right? I am not asking ASU to be top 3 in spending in the Big 12. It would just be unrealistic. But I would like them to spend more than $118,000 on recruiting in an era where some players are making sometimes up to close to $1 million, sometimes even more. And if you only have such a small budget to play with, I don't understand how you can work with that. And another one from Ralph, number 4. Would you rather have unlimited recruiting funds right now or a 5-year plan to remake DFA? Unlimited recruiting funds right now. Because like we mentioned before, if the team is good enough, people are going to show up. And if you have unlimited recruiting funds and you can offer people a little bit more and you can tell people, hey, we are going to renovate eventually, But right now, we're focused on building a better basketball team. I think that's easier to get fan buy-in. And Sharon in the chat says 5-year plan to remake DFA, and she answered that pretty quickly. I don't think that that's a bad take. I mean, listen, I'll take both of them, to be honest. If you told me one or the other, I would say I'll take either, and I'd be happy. But when we talk about what comes first, the chicken or the egg, and when we talk about how do you rebuild a program, the reality is the fan buy-in, the money buy-in, the Michael Crow buy-in, the university buy-in, the state buy-in, the national level buy-in happens when the team is better. You could have a nice shiny new arena and a bad team and people don't care as much. And these players talk and everything like that. And as much of a handicap as it is to have an arena that needs to be worked on, having elite players, when we say a limited recruiting budget, I mean, buddy, we're talking millions of dollars is the way that I took it. Millions of dollars. People are coming to Tempe. If you give Bobby Hurley millions of dollars to play, hell, if you just give him UConn money, right? Dan says, hey, I write a note down on a piece of paper. This is how much they give me to play with. And then Michael Crow looks at it and says, it's yours. Players are coming to Tempe. Players are going to overlook the DFA stuff because they're going to look around and say, what a beautiful place for me to be in. And then once the fans realize what's happening, the fan buy-in is also going to be an important part of that. I think they're both really, really good options. But I just personally, I would say I have to take the money. I have to take the money. And Sharon says, I just think we're going to keep throwing that money away until we invest in the facilities. Yeah, I get it. I mean, but when I hear unlimited, I don't care if I'm throwing it away. I'm just getting the good players. And maybe that's just me misinterpreting things. But I don't see a reality where everything gets better unless some part of both of those happen. You need a new place to play in, at least a renovated place to play in, one that you can be proud of. You need players, and to get players, you need money. And I'm sorry, maybe ASU's athletic department isn't there right now, but the school has money to play with. You're just kind of waiting around and thinking to yourself, is that actually going to happen? And yes, Sharon says, if you build a new arena, it shows investment into the program and gets attention. Look at what happened with ASU hockey and Mullet. Not to say that that's the reason for success, but it's made some buzz and excitement. I mean, you make fantastic points. Like you really do. And you are right. Like, I don't think that either answer is inherently wrong. I think that that's just two different paths to build this. And so if you sit back and you think maybe that is the way to go, I think that would be awesome. But you also have to think with hockey as well, is the buzz building around that, and the buzz building around Mullet was also because it was like shiny and it was new and everything like that. And there wasn't as lot of like sour taste in your mouth when it comes to hockey, right? Like people were excited. I think right now with ASU, renovating DFA, everybody's going to be like, awesome, great, woohoo. But I don't know if you're getting butts in those seats unless there are better teams there. I think that that's kind of the reality, but I can see it both ways. Make sure you guys let me know in the comment section what you think right now. Make sure you also like this video as well, and you subscribe to PHNX. We not only got Sun Devil stuff for you, but we have everything else. You can join our diehard Discord by becoming a diehard today. Talk Sun Devils with Sharon, who is a diehard as well. I know Ralph has his diehard card too, and it's safe to say all of our diehards are in our inner circle. But if you want to be in two inner circles, the inner circle, you can go over to our friends at Circle K and download their free app and join their free membership right now. Circle K is America's thirst shop, and their new free membership program helps you save money on gas, snacks, and drinks. Let's start with the gas. First, you get 25 cents off per gallon for your first 5 fill-ups. Every fill-up after that, you get 3 cents off until you work your way up. Bang, you get 5 cents off once you're in the VIP level. Oh, not to mention the gas, but you also have your snackety snacks. As Shane Diefenbach goes, you can get every 6 free on a selection of Circle K products, including pizza, coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, everything like that. Of course, it's Polar Pop season, as I mentioned before. It's getting a little warmer. You can join the Circle K Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Some terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. And we've mentioned some stuff about Desert Financial and everything earlier in this show, but I just want to express to everybody how much I love Desert Financial Credit Union. They are the only place that I've been keeping my money in and working with for my entire life. And they're also the official retail banking partner of Arizona State University. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions for you. I know me personally, I've had a couple different things I've gone in there and I've talked about, but unfortunately, a little insight between me and you here. It's usually me going because I lost my debit card and I need to get a new one. And they always do it with a smile on their face and they don't make me feel like an idiot. And for that, I truly appreciate that. And when I get a new one, this next time, I'm getting myself an Arizona State University Visa debit card. You can get 3 different ASU themes that you can show your team spirit anywhere, whether you're like Sharon, who's living down in enemy territory, or if you're just milling about on mill. Now is your time to show your ASU team spirit. Open a free checking account online. And hey, by the way, did I mention you get $200 for free? I think I buried the lead here. $200 for free. If you open up a free checking account online, go to desertfinancial.com/ASU to get started. Now, I had some plans for some other things here, but I want to have a little fun. And Ralph shared a story about almost getting hit by a Waymo car next to Dr. Michael Crow and calling him Mike. And it reminded me of a little story that I have with Michael Crow. So we're going to do a little story time here, okay? So everybody kick back, relax. Like I said, I've got this mic and I'm holding it like I'm doing stand-up comedy. We're in the Four Peaks mini bar. I appreciate you guys being here. Hit that like button. I'm going to tell you about the time that I make Michael Crow super uncomfortable. I'm talking like really uncomfortable. So my freshman year, I was at Cronkite, just like Ralph when he started, he was at Cronkite, and they do this big thing at where else but Desert Financial Arena where they get all the freshmen in from all the different schools, and Michael Crow's on this big stage, and there's everybody in there, and everybody's like, woohoo, freshmen, ASU, yeah, forks up, all that stuff, right? And I was a rather rambunctious freshman, and I was sitting in the front row of the Cronkite section, and Michael Crow, good public speakers, they make eye contact with everybody in the crowd. They look and they gesture with their hands. And ironically enough, Michael Crow was telling us about all the athletic experience that he had and how much he values athletics, which, look at us now. But he's looking around at people, and I notice I am one of the few people he has decided to make eye contact with. And I think to myself, what a wonderful opportunity for me. So I wait. And he comes back and he drifts and he looks right at me. And I do the slowest, most uncomfortable wink you have ever seen. I go. He didn't look back at the Cronkite section once for the rest of it. He stumbled on his words, had a very awkward pause, and kept going. And that is my claim to fame on interacting with Michael Crow. But I do want to mention one more thing before we get out of here. I wanted to talk about it with Ralph, but according to Dan Murphy of ESPN, schools in Virginia will be allowed to directly sign athletes to NIL deals starting July 1st, thanks to a new state law. Says this could be the catalyst for significant change that NCAA members have been thus far unwilling to make. Now, if you remember when the whole NIL ordeal started, a big part of it was they did not want it coming directly from the school. They wanted it to be third party. And that's why when NIL started, you got really cool stuff like an air conditioning company partnering with Dakotas Crawford, right? Like that was a really cool moment. And you think, oh, maybe NIL is just this cool little thing that people are going to get. And it's turned into an absolutely different monster. And this new law kind of goes back in what they were trying to avoid at first. It's the first in any state to make this law, and it makes it illegal for the NCAA to punish a school for compensating athletes for their NIL rights. Current NCAA rules prohibit schools from signing NIL deals with their own players. The law could give Virginia schools a significant recruiting advantage or provide a catalyst for similar changes elsewhere. So instead of having to get, let's say, for example, at ASU, the Sun Angel Collective, and the Sun Angel Collective is what you have to get your money funneled through, instead, ASU now itself can write a check. That might put this all in a way better position for ASU if this continues, if this is something that is a catalyst for change across all of college athletics. And University of Virginia Athletic Director Carla Williams said, quote, "If this law gets us closer to a federal or a national solution for college athletics, then it will be more than worthwhile. Until then, we have an obligation to ensure we maintain an elite athletics program at UVA." And if this works for them, if UVA goes out and they get a lot more players because they're able to actually physically pull money from the school and sign athletes to a school-based NIL deal, I guarantee you, once they start seeing success, other schools are either going to say, we need to shut that shit down or we need to do it ourselves. And if we're being honest, if we're looking for, hey, every single program wants to be better and wants to thrive in this current wave of college athletics, they're all going to take the one that benefits themselves, not tears the other one down. They're all going to look for the advantage, and they're going to try to do it as well. So you want to keep an eye out for that, as a lot of times things are changing in this current landscape of college athletics. And like we mentioned before, you need to be well equipped in order to get through that. And it's severely noticeable that ASU basketball is just simply not equipped. I appreciate all of you staying through different technical difficulties and things of that nature. We got a show tomorrow as well. I believe I will be on it. I think Anthony Totri will be back, but he's a little sick. So we're going to have to play that one by ear. But until then, you can follow the show at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow our amazing producer, DJ Danielle, at Abraca Danielle, as they're wrapping up some hockey coverage over on Coyote. She's been a great follow there. Some great pictures, too, as that saga is unfortunately coming to a close. You can follow Ralph at Ralph Amsden. You can follow me at ERIKRUBY. Make sure you become a diehard today. Join that diehard Discord. Chop it up with me, Sharon, Donald, SB, all of that super, super fun stuff. Hit that like button on this video right now. Subscribe to PHNX Sports. And until tomorrow, two things. Go Devils and peace.
We all